welcome everybody. It's time once again for another episode of Let's Talk Real Estate, your weekly BS with Barry Saywitz about the current commercial real estate market here in Southern California as we take a no BS look at both sides of the issues driving the market today. With the man, well, he's been on both sides, in the middle, and up and down. He's been all over the place. Where are you at today, Barry?
I'm right here with you. Good morning, Paul, and we're back for another show of Let's Talk Real Estate. I'm excited to be here, and welcome to all of our listeners and our viewers out there for another week of Let's Talk Real Estate. I'm excited for the show that we have today. Before we get going, I do want to do a couple of shout-outs. First, to my son who turned 18 this week, congratulations. So proud of you and happy for the man that you have become, and can't wait to see what comes next for you as we're on pins and needles waiting to see what colleges you get into here in the next couple of weeks. I also want to do a shout out to all of the teams, since today is the start of March Madness. All the basketball teams out there, especially my UCLA Bruins. Good luck to everyone. With that said, I am Barry Saywitz, president of the Saywitz Company, managing partner of Barry Saywitz Properties, and I'm glad to be back here this week. Our guest today is Barbara DelGleize, mayor of the city of Huntington Beach. Barbara, welcome to the show. We're glad to have you on to talk both real estate, city of Huntington Beach, Orange County, and anything else you want to talk about.
Well, thank you, Barry. It's exciting to be here. It's never hard for me to do all those things that you just said. The city, the real estate, whatever, Orange County.
Yeah, and you have a long history both on the real estate side of things as being a real estate expert on the residential side for a long, long time, and also your involvement with the city and with various different aspects of the county. I want to read something because it's a fairly healthy list and I couldn't memorize it, but you are, in addition to being mayor and having past positions, you are currently serving on the Orange County Transportation Authority Board, the Sanitation District, the Santa Ana River Flood Project, the Association of Cities, and not to mention other intergovernmental and economic development councils. I don't know how you have time for breakfast and lunch today.
Yes. You know what it is? So many of our cities run on those kind of committees because it brings other cities together. And then you get to know what's going on in the community and the county. There's so many things that impact our daily lives here that we drive right by it. Right? We don't even realize it. But there's tremendous work going on the Santa Ana River. They're still trying to create safe zone areas so residents don't have to have flood insurance. That's been in the works for years, and it's been approved, but there's no funding.
And that obviously impacts multiple cities as the river runs through many places.
We have about I think 9 or 10 on the list, and Huntington is the most. And Huntington Beach residents spend probably a little over $5 million a year in flood insurance. Yeah.
Yeah, and so if I want to rewind for a second, because you've been around for quite a while, as have I, and you've seen the growth in Huntington Beach. Let's start with that, because it's not just a sleepy surf community. It's not just about the beach anymore. It's much more than that. Well,
I think it is, and in a way, those things that you just said, we do have parts of the community that still maybe carry that. And what I mean by that is downtown is really Surfing USA.
Yeah.
We have a fortunate Visit Huntington Beach, our Visitors Bureau, led by Kelly Miller. And really what he has done over the last 10 years is really created a place where people want to come to. And so the surfing vibe is there. It may not have to be the little beach town, but I think what it does do is it brings people from all over the world. There's sort of a, like, Surf City USA,
right.
And being out on the pier and
the art fair and the walk around and the restaurants and the bars and the car shows and all of it. Really, the vibe down there is really great. And as compared to other beach cities,
that's right.
You really have a lot more. While nobody's got a lot of land to work with, you actually do have quite a bit more land.
We
than
actually
everybody
do.
else.
We have almost 10 miles of coastline uninterrupted.
Yeah.
And so we do have lots of people that come to the beach, and it also makes us a perfect spot to have the surf communities events like the ISO, the winter nationals or the juniors, and then of course in the summertime we have the U.S. Open, and that attracts so many people, and it's watched worldwide.
Yeah, and not to mention the volleyball and the air
Yes.
show and all the other fun stuff. I mean, there's no question there's no lack of things to do in Huntington Beach, certainly in the summertime.
And, you know, one of the things that's very exciting for us right now, sadly with COVID, it really forced a lot of cities to pull out the planning book again. Okay, how are we going to do this, and what are we doing going forward? Our downtown has needed to look at Main Street for some time, and that's what we're doing. Fortunately, during COVID, we did close the street to the second block, and many of the restaurants benefited from that. As a matter of fact, we have a number that actually did better with their tables
Out in the street.
out in the street and the sidewalk. And I think part that comes from is either they're hidden a little bit there, people didn't know they were there, but I think people really love eating outside, especially, look where we are. We're
Right.
right next to the beach. We just switched over. Right now it's going to stay lighter later, and how fun is it to go downtown and, you know, maybe have a dinner, glass of wine, and just enjoy being near the beach.
Yeah, I think there's no question that while the initial impact of having dinner in the middle of the street wasn't something people were too hip to, now it's just no big deal. I'd
is
rather
not.
eat outside. And then when you make a reservation on OpenTable or Yelp, it asks you indoor, outdoor, right? And
Right.
you don't know what that means, but you just decide whether you want to be in or out. So there's no question COVID caused many businesses to rethink what they're doing and how they're doing it. I'm curious what feedback you get at the city level and in just your day-to-day of what you do, of how businesses in general are doing in the current environment. So certainly struggle a year or 18 months ago. Today, different struggles, but at a different place. I'm curious what you're hearing and seeing.
I actually appreciate you asking that question, because I'm going to brag a little. COVID was devastating. I mean, for really, not only for individuals, but obviously for cities and business owners. And I've got to give a shout out not only to our city, some of the departments that really stepped up. Here's an example. You know, suppose you're a builder or developer and you're doing something, and all of a sudden the city closes. Well, the planning department put everything online, so you could still get a permit, or you could still send your plans in. Our fire department, you know, was so quick in turning things around. They even offered the vaccinations for first responders and seniors. And lastly, well, not really lastly, but one of the things, we had a large senior community in Huntington Beach. They're not moving. They love living there, right? And we have a lot of services for them. Well, we served over 100,000 meals in a time period from when COVID started, because we do a lot of Meals on Wheels. We do meals at the senior center.
Sure.
And it was very, very active. People come all the time. But I really am proud of the staff and the city services that took it over. The other thing we did do is support some of the businesses with the tax dollars that we got from the feds.
Yeah.
And it helped immensely. And there were some people who didn't, you know, they just, for whatever reason, they couldn't make it. But I think the city really did try to be a partner in it, and it made a difference, because one of the things that's, because of some of really smart decisions by the council over the last few years, we are actually in a surplus, where we planned really smartly, and we refinanced our pension debt and brought it down from 7% to 2.9. And you can't do that today because the rates have moved. But there was just a couple of really important things I think that we did that will benefit the city long term.
Which is great.
And, you know, like a lot of our coastal cities, we're older. And a lot of the things that we have, our infrastructure needs to be redone. It needs to be updated.
Yeah.
And I think people will really benefit from this. Once it's updated, it works better. There's more efficiency. For example, I've been a big proponent of broadband. We need more. We need more of it in our city. You should be able to go to the beach and have it. You know, why not?
Wi-Fi and have a
Yes.
signal, right?
And so we're working on it. It's coming along, and I'm very excited about being connected.
Then those are all good things, and it seems like, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but COVID forces some of these things.
Many.
It makes you react, whereas it wouldn't have been at the forefront of what you're talking about.
Not only the forefront, I think what happened is people had to sit down and really say, okay, what's important? What are we doing here? How can we improve going forward now that we know this? For example, Main Street. We did bring the restaurants out onto the street. Now we're doing a serious plan on the second block and making it permanently closed. And so it won't just be about the tables in the
It'll
street.
be the whole
People,
experience.
yes, it will be people being there, walking through, and I think it'll help the businesses because people will be walking. You won't have giant motorcycles or really loud cars coming through, which for a lot of people is really disturbing when you're eating dinner.
Sure, sure.
But it also helps them walk by the store, and if you have people walking by your store, they'll probably come in.
My new business, I think, will be the valet parking for the walking street in Huntington Beach.
Okay, we could use that, I'm sure.
I'm sure. So, and in terms of just the dynamics of the city as a whole, I talk about the city's view, I guess, from the council level relative to pro-business, business growth, and just the continued expansion, I guess, of the city as it goes forward.
Well, let me step back a little bit. I think about 10, maybe 12 years ago now, because we had the recession, the Great Recession, Bellaterra, our beautiful mall, was being redone and opened. And it really brought life to the northern part of the city. So there were apartments built, and you could get out of your car and go to the gym or restaurant, right? And it was really dreamed up as an economic development mover for the city, that Edinger corridor, that Beach Boulevard corridor. And so that's kind of where it got started. Because of now some of the issues that we've had, I can't say we're as far along as we had hoped to be. But in the last couple of years, there's a lot of people coming to Huntington Beach. Let me brag again, the Boeing Company, who absolutely, I want to point to, probably really helped the growth of Huntington. Well, not probably, it did help
Right.
the growth of Huntington Beach. They decided to close their Huntington Beach, the real big part of the building. There's probably 1,000 or so left there. But they sold off the land, and Sarah's Regis now is building a new business park. And we have Amazon as one of our tenants for one of the small distribution centers. And just some of those, and it's attracting, what I like is some of our companies who have been in the city a very long time. Campro, for example, they're moving into a bigger building.
Right,
They're
right.
not leaving
Summer.
the city. They're actually moving in, and that's exciting for us because there's a lot of businesses in Huntington that have been there a long time and they need more room.
Yeah, and then you have these new businesses coming in that are dynamic businesses.
Yes.
That bring not only other people, but I'm assuming also people will look to then live closer to where they work if they can, and potentially bring a new type of person into the city. But the Sarah's Regis development and certainly the Amazon deal, from a real estate perspective, from a guy being in the real estate business, watch it very closely because everybody follows along and says, oh, well, Amazon is paying X in rent. I should get a little bit less than that, but still a ridiculous number. Sort of drives up the market in terms of the prices. Let's shift gears for a second over to the real estate. On the residential side, on the commercial side, I think we've seen it on both ends of the stick where the market has just continued to rise over the past year or two fairly dramatically.
Yeah, it has been very dramatic, and I would say probably 2019, the market was moving along, and slowly we could see the inventory just lower and lower and lower. And it's, for me as a longtime realtor, it's very unsettling. I don't like it when it's this low because I think people like choice.
Yeah.
And right now, there's not a lot of choice, and I think it's challenging for buyers today, and we don't want it to be that way. We want them to have a good experience and want to, live in the community that they want to live in. But I think it's going to be here for a while. The low interest rates, and then honestly, to tell the truth, they haven't built anything either.
Right.
The building has gone down to almost zero. And why I mentioned the Beach Edinger corridor was it was a real step in the city trying to bring new business into the community without impacting our residential real estate communities. keeping it on the outside
Right.
of the city.
Well, you're redeveloping something
Yes.
that needed it, frankly,
definitely
and
does.
created a more dynamic place. And then what that does, I think, anyway, is it feeds to the residential, because if you have these amenities, then you will want to live near the amenities.
That's
You don't
right.
want to say, oh, I don't want to live closer to the freeway, I want to live closer to the beach. No, I have all these amenities, I can go there.
So one of the things that's been exciting, OCTA, the Orange County Transit Authority, did try a pilot program with one of their little minivans. It didn't go so well in our community, but it really did in Aliso Viejo, Laguna Niguel, some of those cities
Yeah.
in South County. So now we have a van, and it is downtown, and we just renewed it again. The popularity is growing. And it's fun, it's free, people, I think they're going to raise it maybe a little bit coming this year because it's picking up, but it's an opportunity if you're downtown, maybe you're near the pier, but you want to go to the hotels.
Right.
I haven't even had a chance to bring about our hotels, but that's an example. And it's just fun, for people to jump on. But one of the things that's really been a blend in a nice way is we have our beautiful hotels, we have the beaches right there, and yet you can really go downtown, and if you don't want to be over here, maybe it's too glitzy for you, Main Street really can bring you back to Surf City USA. There's lots of surfboard shops that have been there a long, long time.
I was going to say, you get a T-shirt, you get some board shorts, you're in good shape.
You're in good shape. And we have the museum there, the International Surfing Museum. So that's a little step back in time, but
What is the plan? I was going to talking about the beach. What is the plan in a bigger perspective for along PCH there with the hotels? I know there's still some plots of land that have screening on them, and I'm assuming there's something good that you got in store or someone does to build.
Well, we're in the process. Thank you for asking. We've had the longest bike path for a long time, and then one of the things from COVID was everybody got outside, right? They got a bike or they wanted to walk. Well, our bike path now is very crowded, but I will tell you something very exciting. I don't know when the last time you went to the beach, but the railing was metal or aluminum or something, and it was rotted. I mean,
Yeah.
It was terrible. It was embarrassing. And we just finished putting up the new fence, and it's beautiful. And what's going to happen with that is they're going to widen the beach path, so it'll be wider for the bicycles, wider for the walker runners,
great.
and that's attracting a lot of excitement downtown. The other thing that people don't even realize, did you know that the city of Huntington Beach has a equestrian center?
I did not.
Yes. And it's beautiful, and people can, take their children or take themselves. It's right in the middle of Central Park.
Huh.
And our Central Park, that was a very important thing to our residents, especially 7 or 8 years ago, coming out of the big recession. A lot of our parks had been neglected, and people want our parks working. So that's something else that the city changed, making the parks high on the list to make sure they could, be up to date, safe equipment, and things of that sort.
Not to mention the dog park, which is a big.
The dog park too, they got new bark
Yeah.
and new fencing, and so I can't say enough about that area, especially because it's around the lake. They're going to put a path around the lake to make it safer if you didn't want to jump over the tree trunk and
Right.
the roots. And then something really for our kids. They just finished and opened I guess you would call it a park, I don't know, amenity or something, but it's quite large and the kids can crawl in it. It's in the shape of almost a snake, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But it's
So-
netted. And so it's about 15, 20 feet off the ground, maybe even higher in some areas. It's packed.
So a jungle gym of sorts.
Yes, that's a good way to describe it.
And so it sounds like the city's goal is to continue to create more amenities for the people that come and live there, and
Absolutely.
continue to reinvest in the infrastructure going forward. I mean, it makes perfect sense.
We are blessed with a wonderful Public Works Director, Sean Crumby. He's worked at some other cities here in the county, but he's brought some terrific ideas, and I think the city's in a space where that's what's going on right now. Very forward-thinking, wanting to update things. They know things are dated. People don't want them to be dated, any longer, so
Yeah.
there's money going there. And then let's seriously talk about homelessness. I mean, it's something that's on everyone's mind. If you don't talk about it,
Yeah.
we have to, I think. We've done a good job. We have opened a shelter about a year ago. Due to COVID, we didn't have it completely full. However, we have a team that's running it, and we are more and more encouraging people to go to there. We know that there's people who will not. But the thing that I want to be able to say to our residents is we have brought more services. We have a full-time housing manager, I guess you could call him. Jason Austin.
In terms of dealing with the homeless
Yes,
and
yes.
with the shelter.
And then we have the police department who have dedicated 4 officers, and we have 4 committed counselors. And then, I don't know if you've seen the most exciting thing that we've done, the Be Well OC van.
No.
Okay, because more cities are coming on. I'm proud to tell you that our city, Huntington Beach, was the pilot, started last August. And what it is, it's an organization here in the county called Be Well OC, which is an umbrella. And under that, there is this van they've put together where it's helping the community with people in the community who may not be well.
Oh,
And if there's somebody acting out or needs some help, they can go rather than the police.
interesting.
And so we're not defunding our police. We have hired more police.
Well, that was one of the questions I was going to
Yeah,
ask.
absolutely not. We've hired more police, and they're doing more police work because now they have somebody helping them.
That's great.
And it's a big, big deal.
Yeah, super. And let's talk about, I think we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about transportation, not only as it relates to the city, but just to county-wide. And I know you're on the committee, so you're very well in tune with what's going on. I guess for our listeners and viewers out there, what is going on with the 405 and the other projects around town and around the county?
Well, the 405 freeway is being redeveloped from the 73 freeway to the 605 freeway. And people wonder, why are they knocking down all those bridges? They just built a few new ones, right? 18 of the bridges are going to be rebuilt, and 8 of them have already been completed.
Huh.
Why? Well, because they're widening the freeway. So the pilings that actually held the bridge up were too close.
Right.
Long term, there will be a toll lane on the freeway, and there's going to be 2 more free lanes going each direction. And what it's done is really helped our on and off ramps in all the cities and all the communities. For example, in Huntington Beach, the Edinger Beach intersection is really impacted. There's a lot of traffic.
Yeah.
So now they're going to widen that, and I think you're going to find getting on and off going to be much safer, more up to date. There's going to be bike lanes, safe bike lanes and sidewalks, because people a lot of times, they don't understand why it really needs to be done. But I think you're going to find traffic. The one thing that we've also benefited in our community is our synchronization of our lights on Beach Boulevard and some of our major arteries. It makes such a big difference.
Yeah, and the on and off of the freeway is where the congestion seems to be. So certainly in the middle of heavy construction, it's tough to get any kind of traction with it. But once it's done, it seems like it should flow much better.
I think people are going to find it, and I think they're going to really appreciate the speed.
And that expansion is really with federal dollars as opposed to local money?
It's a combination. There is Measure M money, local money, and then there's the county money, and then there is the Fed funds. I will say, and this is one of the things that I think is so smart about OCTA. They borrowed, what they call a TIFIA loan. It's an acronym, so I can't tell you what it means, but I will tell you this. The interest rate was phenomenal. It saved the whole project millions and millions of dollars because they were able to do that. And they make good financial decisions. And why? Because it's our people's money.
Yeah, and the traffic problem is not going away, and the better you deal with it and the sooner, the better off I think everybody
Well, one of
is.
the things we do have, not without some issues right now, I will say, but there's a streetcar being built in Santa Ana in Garden Grove. Right now, it's only 4.5 miles. But I will tell you, if it is successful and it does, do what we think it's going to do, Huntington Beach will be able to connect with that maybe along Beach Boulevard up by Westminster, or maybe a little bit further north than that.
And then take it all the way
to Los Angeles.
That would be awesome.
Yeah, it really would, because when I first got on OCTA, I always felt bad because there was nothing happening over in Huntington. It was like all over here. But what they've done is our roads are better. Our city has the highest pavement rating than any city in the county. And that's a big deal. For years, we haven't been able to repave, and now with Sean and his team, we've been able to break it down from 12 years. Now we're going to be repaving every 6 years.
Great.
It's a big deal.
Yeah, for sure. Well, look, we're almost out of time.
Okay.
I got one more question for you.
Sure.
In terms of 2022, what's the one thing you want people to know about Huntington Beach and about where it's going and take home with them as a parting gift?
Well, I appreciate the question. That we're in business, we're open, we are looking for different ideas. I think we have a talented departments that are looking for new ideas as well. We are really being considered maybe the city for the Olympics for surfing, and that is going to be very, very special. You're going to see some really well done ideas that may come to fruition. I don't know this yet, but for example, BMX.
Yeah.
You know, and I know we got to go, but I would say that's probably the biggest thing that's not on everyone's radar.
Well, I
Because
think
it's 5 years from now.
sure, and I mean we could talk all day about Huntington Beach. I know you can, and I got plenty of stuff. But for someone who owns a bunch of properties in Huntington Beach, I can say firsthand it's been a pleasure in our dealings with the city. I can say certainly enjoy owning property and doing business in the city, and it is a great place to live and work and come and visit. So I say 2 thumbs up for Surf City, and I say thank you for being on the show and sharing your thoughts, and much continued success to you and your business and your family
Thank
and
you.
the city.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, so just to wrap up for today, we will be back next week if you were wondering. We will be talking more real estate. I am Barry Saywitz, president of the Saywitz Company, and if it's one thing I've learned in my years of doing real estate, it's to look at both sides of the equation. Today we've looked at many sides and many different aspects, and we'll look forward to having you here next week on Let's Talk Real Estate. Thanks for listening in.
Well, there you have it. You've been listening to Let's Talk Real Estate, your weekly BS with Barry Saywitz about the current state of the real commercial real estate market right here in Southern California. On Orange County's only community radio station, OC Talk Radio, streaming live from our studio here at the University of California Irvine's Beal Applied Innovation Center.